You can't turn a video game into a good TV show, or can you? Based on the popular video game, the highly anticipated show The Last of Us just released its first episode on HBO Max. If you haven't played the video game, don't worry. This show was created with everyone in mind. But did this video game adaptation actually turn out to be worth the watch so far? In this video, we are going to break down what happened in the first episode, explain the ending, and offer some key takeaways from what we saw so far. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video so you can learn more about what to expect from the rest of the season. Let's jump into the biggest questions from the first episode, starting with question number 1. What happens in episode 1? The episode begins with us looking in on a talk show from 1968. The show features two doctor guests who talk about the risk of pandemics, but how humans have always won against viruses and bacteria. However, they say that fungi is a bigger risk, which can take over humans and control their minds. They mention that fungi aren't a large threat unless the world warms up slightly. But if it happens, humans would lose. This scene gives us the perfect backstory and context for the storyline of The Last of Us, as it is a scene we did not see in the video game. We then jump to 2003 and are introduced to Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, and his daughter Sarah, played by Nico Parker. Sarah makes Joel a special breakfast for his birthday, but it is short because she needs to get to school. Getting into the car, Joel offers that Sarah will stop by the neighbor's house later. After school, Sarah takes a watch to get fixed at a local shop, but then things start to seem a little off. The shopkeeper pushes Sarah out and tells her she should go home. Sarah then stops by her neighbor's house as she promised earlier in the day, talks a bit to Miss Adler, asks to borrow a movie and goes home. But as she walks out, she sees the dog staring intently at the old woman in the wheelchair and sees fighter jets fly overhead outside. Later, Sarah gives Joel the fixed watch and they start to watch a movie, but Sarah falls asleep watching, and Joel's brother calls and says he needs to be bailed out of jail. When Sarah wakes up, Joel is gone, and there is a loud helicopter flying past the house. The TV provides a national alert to stay indoors, but Sarah goes out to check on her neighbor's scared dog and sees her neighbor's front door open. She goes to check and walks in on the old woman eating the flesh of the others in the house. The old woman, looking like a zombie, then runs at Sarah to make her the next victim. As Sarah gets chased out of the house, Joel and his brother Tommy pull up in their truck. The old lady charges them and Joel kills her with a wrench. Joel, Tommy, and Sarah all get in the truck as Joel urges Tommy to drive and get out of there, speeding past their neighbors and more zombie-like people. There is a virus going around, people are in crisis, and the military is blocking off highways and roads. The group tries every route to escape by truck before ending up in the city, trying to drive through a crowd of panicked people. The camera angles in the truck scene, by the way, are very similar to the video game. As they try to find a way out, a plane crashes in the near distance, sending projectiles at the truck and stopping the group in their tracks. Ellie's ankle is badly injured and the group needs to try to get away. Joel and Sarah split from Tommy. As they run away through the apocalyptic scene, they are chased by another zombie-like person. Right before they are caught, a soldier shoots the attacker. However, the soldier then turns to Joel and Sarah, aims, and fires. Tommy reemerges and shoots the soldier, but not before Joel and Sarah are hit. In an extremely emotional and painful scene, we watch Sarah die in Joel's arms. The episode immediately takes us 20 years into the future, to 2023 Boston, where we find a little girl walking from the forest into a city. As she approaches, we see a city in ruins, with overgrown plants and rundown buildings, and a checkpoint with large walls that read quarantine zone. The little girl is taken into a hospital, with signs that mention information about the infection. The girl is scanned for the disease, given a shot, and told that she is safe. The episode then transitions to a view of dead bodies being thrown into a fire. We find an older Joel, and see him having to toss the body of that same little girl into the flames. We get more context and learn that Joel is doing odd jobs for money in a quarantine zone run by military Federal soldiers. We see signs posted about curfew, warning signs listing symptoms, snipers on rooftops, and even a public execution. Joel meets up with one of the soldiers in an alley away from the crowds, dealing drugs with him. Joel asks him how long it is going to take to get a truck and how much money. The soldier lays out what he expects from the deal. Before Joel leaves, the soldier warns Joel about staying off of the streets, saying that the group the Fireflies have been blowing things up and that the military is jumpy and ready to shoot people. In the alleyway, we see a quote spray painted on the wall, which reads, "When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light." We will see this quote several times later throughout the episode, and recognize it from the video game. The episode jumps to a woman named Tess in a dark room with 3 men. One of them, Robert, apologizes for ripping her off, selling the car battery she was supposed to receive and spending the money that she used to pay for it. Tess is surprisingly understanding, saying she just wants to go home, before an explosion and a shootout outside breaks up the meeting. The scene cuts to a little girl, chained in a room, forced to answer questions. She answers the questions begrudgingly and swears at the people who have her locked in. The girl is then left there. Meanwhile, Joel aims to communicate where his brother Tommy is, talking to a man who can send messages through the radio, but he has heard nothing from Joel's brother. Joel starts planning to get to Wyoming to find Tommy. We then find Tess with Joel. She tells him how Robert sold the car battery that Joel needed, which he needs to power the truck to go find Tommy. They plan to get their careful revenge. Next, we meet Marlene and Kim discussing how they are in a war against the military government dictatorship to restore democracy and freedom. They are members of the Fireflies that we have been hearing about. And Marlene discusses attack plans against Fedra and tells her that they are going to leave the quarantine zone and take the little girl in the room west. And then we return to the girl locked in the room. Marlene gives the girl her backpack and unlocks the chains. We learn the girl's name is Ellie and that Marlene is the head of the Fireflies in the Boston quarantine zone. Marlene reveals that she put Ellie in Fedra military school when she was a baby and tells her that she has a greater purpose, unveiling a secret that we will learn later. Meanwhile, Joel and Tess discover where Robert is and search for him and the car battery in a creepy building when they stumble upon a few dead bodies. And finally, our two storylines cross paths. In the building, Joel and Tess come across Marlene, Kim, and Ellie, but Marlene and Kim are both badly injured. Joel and Marlene appear to know each other and have some history. Marlene tells Joel that there is a group of Fireflies waiting for Ellie at the old state house and tells Joel and Tess that she needs them to bring Ellie there. She tells them that if Joel brings her, he will receive everything he needs, including a truck, guns, and supplies. They agree to do it, but they tell Marlene that if they don't get what they need, they will kill Ellie. Everything that we see during the episode winds down to an intense series of events, bringing us to question number 2. What happens at the ending of The Last of Us Episode 1? At the end of the first episode, we see Joel, Tess, and Ellie preparing to set out on their journey. Ellie is trying to learn more about Joel and figure out what is going on, and searches through some of Joel's belongings. She also interrogates him a bit. Ellie is clearly very smart and witty. She even tricks Joel into figuring out his code, guessing that 80-second songs playing on the radio are code for trouble. Tess comes in and tells them it's time to go. We see the city under curfew with the military out in full force. The group emerges from an underground bunker on the edge of the quarantine zone, trying to find their way out past the Fedra soldiers. As they try to escape, they come across a soldier, the same one we saw dealing with Joel in the alley earlier. They try to negotiate with him, but he is not prepared to let them go easy, wanting a lot in return. He starts scanning each of the members in the group, and Ellie stabs him in the leg, ruining the chances of making a deal. The soldier points his gun at them, but Joel flashes back to him and Sarah getting shot at, and Joel immediately tackles the guard and beats him to death. Tess sees Ellie's scan result, which says she is infected, and Tess threatens to kill her. But Ellie pleads, explaining that she was infected weeks ago but still isn't showing signs, even though it usually only takes a day, hinting that she is immune to the disease. The group then realizes they need to get out as quickly as possible, exiting the quarantine zone through a hole in the fence. In the last shot of the episode, we cut to the radio playing Never Let Me Down Again by Depeche Mode and then rain falling on the city in ruins. Thanks to Ellie cracking the radio code, this 1980s song playing at the end tells us that there will probably be plenty of trouble to come. This takes us to question number 3. What stands out from the episode? The first thing that stands out is the story. As advertised, the show is made for everyone, whether you have played the video game or not. The first episode gives us plenty of backstory so that we know what is going on. If you haven't played the video game, you won't be left out. However, if you did play it, it will be easy to pick up on the similar scenes and some Easter eggs. For example, the references to the band Hallican drops in posters from the episode, as well as the movie that Sarah and Joel watched titled Curtis and the Viper 2. Also, Marlene may sound familiar, as Merle Dandridge is the same actor who voiced Marlene in the video games. Some of the lines are also pulled straight from the game, like when Joel asks Ellie if she is a quote bigwig's daughter or something. Another thing that stands out from the episode is that the set design and cinematography are incredibly well done, giving the perfect impression of a dystopian, post-apocalyptic world. The action scenes are well done also, and they don't seem cheesy, keeping us on the edge of our seats the entire time. If we learn anything from the episode, it's that we are going to have to prepare our emotions. Watching Sarah die was heart-wrenching to say the least. In the short time that we meet Sarah, we quickly fall in love with her character between her witty banter with Joel and the close relationship the two shared. However, we seem to find a similar dynamic with Ellie, so we can expect to be invested in how this relationship plays out over the rest of the season. Bringing us to our final question. What should we expect next? The Last of Us is scheduled for 9 episodes in the first season, but don't expect the storyline to wrap up that soon. We can expect that The Last of Us will not just be a complete recap of the events in the video game, but that it will also expand on the original story. The showrunner Craig Mazin has already said that we should expect more.
We have definitely talked about seasons to come. We're ready to go and dive into more of the world of The Last of Us, no question.
Because there will be potentially new seasons with so much time to cover, we can expect a much deeper exploration of the show. We can also expect to see both similar events from the video games as well as some new takes on the story.
It is going to be different, and it's also going to be something it's both.
In the short post-credits trailer, we see that there will be plenty of action, relationship building, and moral dilemmas to come, so we cannot wait to see exactly what will happen next. What did you think of the first episode of The Last of Us? Do you think it does the video game justice so far? Is it worth the watch? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to like this video and share it with your friends so they can get the full rundown too. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get all of the latest updates and buzz surrounding The Last of Us and more of your favorite shows and movies. Thanks for watching. See you next time.